My grandmother always said, if you're not teaching, you're not learning. She's always said that. If I'm going to teach you something, you're going to teach the next person, and the next person going to teach the next person. And that's how we grow together. Other people are waiting for the next person to do it. Each one, teach one.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions.
Welcome back to Women We Should Know. I am thrilled that you are with us today, whether you're watching on YouTube, watching on the website, listening on Spotify or iTunes. I am delighted that you are with us. For those of you who are new and don't know this, Women We Should Know was founded on the desire to bring wonderful conversation with brilliant, audacious women who are breaking every rule, coloring outside of every line, to a broader audience, and to share their tips and to share their insights and to share their courage with all of you. And today, oh my goodness, do we have a woman to share with you. Fabulous Camille Robb is the CEO of Just Fabulous Care Corp. She is a mentor, a teacher, a global speaker, entrepreneur, investor, and an author. In her spare time, she wrote a book. She has been an advocate for children for over 25 years. Fabulous Camille has the ability to care for a newborn, interact with a toddler, mentor a teenager. That in and of itself is a feat, and making the elderly smile all in one day. She has owned and operated a student exchange program that holds students from around the world, such as China, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Australia, Africa, Japan, and I could go on and on and on. She's been all around the world, speaking to, advocating for, and being in relationship with children so that they can become their best selves. She has used her skills to create a secure and nurturing environment, and that is her superpower. And she's done this while supporting each student to achieve their educational goals. Now, there's a whole lot more, but I'm going to say that until we bring her on. So I am delighted today to introduce you to the fabulous Camille Robb. Hi, Camille. How are you today?
I am blessed. And how are you?
Well, I am blessed, and I am honored to have you here with us today. There's so much I want to speak with you about, but I have this little tradition. It's kind of my little game. With each guest, when we start our conversation, I like to ask, what is not on your bio that you would be willing to share with our listeners?
What's not on my bio? I've been married for, come March 13th, 29 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was a nurse for the longest. I love to dance. That is not on my bio.
No, it is not on your bio. So that is just more fabulousness about you.
Thank you. I see we're going to have fun here today.
We're going to, oh, well, it's just not worth doing unless you're having fun.
That's right.
That's
I
right.
agree, Leslie.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. You know, where I'd like to start, you have a slogan, that is a call to action, that is a mission statement, that is a passion statement, all in 4 words. I like to start with that. Each one, teach one.
You see, a lot of people tend to want to do things selfish.
Yes.
And my grandmother always said, if you're not teaching, you're not learning. She's always said that. So I grew up hearing that. If I'm going to teach you something, you're going to teach the next person, and the next person going to teach the next person. And that's how we grow together. So that's been a motto of mine in my head for the longest. Each one, teach one.
Well, clearly you had a very wise grandmother.
Yes, she was. To me, she was an angel in disguise, because when my mom was pregnant with me and she found out, my mom was very young at the time, and she said, this one is mine. This is going to be my baby. And she took my mom in, and she was there right to the birth and everything. And it was like, I had a real mom, someone that would love me unconditional. There was nothing that this woman wouldn't have done for me.
Oh, I am so happy to hear for you that you had that. It's not common, as you well know, because you're out there in the world working with kids in multiple different types of situations, but
Yes.
each one of them has her a little bit too, because of the way she raised you, right?
Yes, ma'am. Sure
Yes.
did.
And you have a passion for feeding children and their family. And you've been doing this for over 25 years. So tell me a little bit about the genesis of this.
So here we go again. My grandmother. Growing up with my grandmother, I thought she had a lot of children. She only had 7 children. But there was kids from all over the neighborhood, from the other city, that would come, and she would feed them. So I grew up with this mentality that no one should be hungry. Everyone should eat. You should feed. If you can, you should feed. So I was doing this by myself, and then I got married, and then my husband and I started doing it together. Then we joined up with a church. We opened up a food pantry, and we started, and we just kept doing it. Without the food pantry, we were doing it on our own. The reason why we did it, because I had the experience of what it was like when I was separated from my grandmother and not having enough to eat. And I had 2 brothers that I had to take care of to feed. So that was a hard lesson that I had to learn, because I had it when I was with my grandmother. But when we got separated, I didn't have it. And then I had to fend for my brothers. So all that I grew up learning as I grow. Without food, especially when the children are young and they don't have it, they get wild, real wild. I remember when I first came here to the United States, I was 18 years old, and I started working for a daycare center. I was a young teacher at the daycare center of 27 children. And those children had the same issue my brother had when he was small. Whenever he get a certain time, they just get very angry for no reason. I don't know if you ever see the movie called The Gremlins. They're nice.
I haven't, but I've heard of hangry. In fact, I've been hangry before.
Okay. And it's like they have no control over their behavior.
Right.
And I realized it was happening more and more and more in the classroom. And I started saying, okay, this is what I'm going to start doing. So whenever I would get paid on Friday, I would go shopping. And I would buy little stuff. I bought Ziploc bags, put dates and stuff on it. And Monday, when I come in, I'll make stuff and bring it. I make little pancakes, and I have little apples and a little juice box. So as soon as they come in the classroom, I would give it to them. And they would sit down and they would eat. And I noticed the difference. So the other teachers would come to my class and said, what's going on? What are you doing to these children? I'm like, nothing. I'm not doing anything to them because I didn't want them to know what I'm doing.
Right.
I wanted to be the person that figured this out. I didn't want them to know what, and I didn't tell them until I was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Well, on the weekend, I would send home little snacks. So I made it a project because I didn't want the parents to feel like they were doing something wrong with their children.
Mm-hmm.
So I made little snacks and put it and say it's a project, and this project need to be eaten by this child at a certain time, and I put date and time on it. And I was not only teaching the parents, but I was teaching the kids on Saturday, this is what you're going to eat on Saturday. On Sunday, this is what you're going to eat, and this is the time you're going to eat it. So they were learning as they were growing.
That is brilliant. The parents get to maintain their dignity.
Yes.
The kids get to continue to maintain a good
nutrition,
sugar balance and
yes,
nutrition, and their circadian rhythms are maintained in balance.
Yes.
Everyone's winning.
Right. And that was the key. That was the key. And Monday, when they came in, we had roundtable talk, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about what they had for breakfast, what they had for lunch, what they had for dinner, where did they go, and all that conversation we had. And they'd tell me that, oh, I ate the green bag on Saturday and the yellow bag I ate on Sunday. And they told me what else and that's how you know if the kids are getting anything to eat at home. And a lot of them weren't getting enough nutrition. And that's how I found out. So more and more I started increasing the snack. And I'm telling you, Monday when they come in after they eat, I had no problem with my children. They were well behaved. They were happy. And when it was playtime, we went outside and we played. They come back inside. I go into my little bag and take out my little treats and feed them. And they went down for a nap. And I had a peaceful time just watching and listening to them when they were sleeping.
And they got to learn. Yes. Because they're not distracted by the fact that their body is telling them that something is very wrong.
Yes.
And that speaks, you're working all over the world, but this speaks directly to the issues we're having that we've long had in the schools that are less provided for, and that are in neighborhoods of marginalized individuals and individuals who are just unable to provide enough nutrition for their kids.
And it's going to be like that because other people are waiting for the next person to do it.
That's right.
And that's I've had that issue a long time ago. I'm like, why are you waiting for the government? Why are you waiting for this person? If you have it, why not share it? Why not give it?
Give it now.
Right. Don't wait. Give it now.
That's right.
Let that family, so they can take care of their little ones. Help when you can. Don't wait.
And you took this and created this into a program where people, when they pay their regular household bills, there's a company that will buy food for children. Please explain this.
I've been an advocate for ACN for the past 12 years. And every time I acquire a customer, whether it's an internet, cell phone, home security, identity theft, gas or electricity, ACN take a portion of that money. They purchase food. They feed a child. So your bills become a meal for a child. Simple. You pay your bill, they feed a child. And then, of course, they send me a residual income for the past 12 years. And I use that money to help send the kids to school, help them with clothes, help feed them. It's just, to me, that is a win-win situation.
That's an absolute win-win. When we can get a big company to start paying for food for kids, that is amazing. Now, you came here from where?
I'm originally from Jamaica. I know.
I knew that, but I wanted the audience to know who they're speaking with. So you actually are from an island culture where there is a culture where people interact and there is true community and there is true sharing. And I think that's relevant to tell within the context of everything that you are doing.
We had the bordering system. And you guys know nothing about it. We had a bordering system. My grandmother, she had a grocery store, she had a restaurant, she had a theater, she had a seamstress business. So she had multiple stream of income. So she taught me about multiple stream of income.
Right.
So we'll have Miss Bev down the street will come and say she'll come and she'll pick up some groceries and then she'll bring something for her, replace that. So most of the time when I was growing up with my grandmother, there was stuff exchanging, little money, but there was a lot of other stuff exchanging. I was like, okay. So you learn. And she always said, never have one stream of income. Always have 5 irons in the fire. And I used to laugh, because I'm like, what is she talking about? She's old.
Isn't that what we all thought back then? And now we find ourselves doing exactly what they said.
Exactly. And I love it because my husband does the same thing. With the garden we have, people will bring stuff and he will give them stuff. And I'm saying, so did anybody pay for anything? And he's like, no. I'm like, how are you supposed to keep up if there's no money exchanging? And then he said, you remember grandma used to do this? So it's like, and the more he gives, the more it seems to come and the more it seems to grow.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? My grandpa was a farmer and he unbelievable amounts of stuff that he gave away, just literally by a lot. And then people would turn around and bring him more than he already gave away. And then he'd have to figure out a way to give it away because he wasn't going to let it go to rot.
That's the thing. His mom was the same way. My husband's mom was the same way. She would leave with her eggs and stuff and she'll go down the street with a full bag and go and distribute it to people. No money exchanging. And when she comes back home, she come back with 3 times the amount.
Exactly. Now she's got to start all over and figure out new people to give away to.
I know. And she's always, and that's the thing with my grandmother and his mother, they were always giving away stuff.
Yes.
So he still have that mentality that, okay, I planted, I give it away. I planted, I give it away.
That's right.
We have that. It's like a domino effect. It's keep happening. We give away and more come in. We give away and more come in. So I was like, okay, my grandmother was right.
Not every single person, but as a whole in this country, we've forgotten the concept of I have enough now. I can share.
Yeah.
That basic, I just have enough now. I mean, really, who needs $80 trillion?
Yeah.
Go feed the world. Go feed the world. I don't care. Until you do that, I don't have an ear for you. I do not have one ear for you.
Me too. $80 trillion, you could feed a lot of people. We should not have anybody in this world hungry with $80 trillion. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said billion. Yeah. I won't even say the name, but we all know who he is. Yeah. He has $80 billion. Come on, let's feed some people. Now, okay, so you started giving away, and then you ended up having a pantry, and then you aligned with a company that was going to start feeding kids. Now, how did this expand to the point that you are helping kids in Dubai and Japan and South Africa? And okay, I won't read the list. We don't want to eat up all our podcast time.
So I wanted to start something different because Just Fabulous Care is the name of my company.
Yes.
And when we started out in 2000, right?
Yeah.
So when we started out in 2000, it was Our Future Family. That was the name of it. Mm-hmm. And I started out with a home daycare. Mm-hmm. And then it started to grow. And then my husband said, there's a lot of ways we can make some changes here. And I'm like, I know. I'm just waiting for God to talk to me and tell me. And he said, well, you know, you could do this. I said, I'm waiting for God to tell me what to do. You could do it. I'm waiting for him. Sure enough, my daughter went to Europe on an exchange student program. She was student ambassador for the United States. So she had the opportunity to go to Europe.
Good job, Mama.
She went to a family that had not one child, had no experience with children. But when my daughter came back, my daughter was a brand new person. She was full of life. She was excited, very independent. Oh, Mom, I got this. Mom, I'll do this. And Mom, I do that. And Mom, I was like, okay. And I started doing some research. Now, prior to that, we were doing all of this stuff and we were doing it with no problem for free. Having the church have children come in, we'd take care of them. And one day someone asked me, you don't get paid to do this? I was like, no. What? I didn't know you get paid to do that. And she started laughing. She said, do you know this is actually a business where they pay individual to take care of these students while they're in your home? I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And I told my husband, my husband started laughing at me. He said, leave it up to you to do stuff for people for free. And then it started. It started word of mouth. One child came in first, and then it started. Everything that you see that I'm doing, I didn't have to advertise that one time. Okay. We have family that can afford to send their children here to go to school, to learn our culture, to get that education so they can take it back home and they can also become teachers in their country.
Right.
So, and at the same time, when you meet one student we introduce you to another student. So that's how I got introduced to a student who cannot afford to come. And then my husband and I sponsor them by helping them to go to school, by providing a place for them to sleep, provide food, and, you know, just little stuff like that we've done.
Oh yeah, just little stuff like
but we love
a
what we
place
do.
to be safe and live and eat, just little tiny things.
To us, we don't see it as a big deal. We see it as a mom and dad trying to provide for their extended children. That's how my husband and I see it.
And that's
a lot
why
of people,
that's why it's what it is.
Yeah, a lot of people, oh my God, I can't believe you guys are doing it. And all of this that we're doing, we're not doing it because we have a program that pays for it. My husband work, I work, and we combine our money together and we do it. That's how we do it.
That's amazing. Now, have you gotten to go to any of these places, Dubai and Japan and South Africa?
Yes.
Okay, do tell.
So one of my students from Congo, right? She introduced me to a whole new family in Congo. And for about 3 years, we were helping the student. We had one particular student that we fell in love with because he lost his mom, he lost his dad, and he was, you know, he wasn't in a safe environment. He was sleeping on other floors and stuff, but he was very smart and he wanted to go to school. So she said, Auntie, I have someone that I think you could help. I said, okay. And then she explained to me the situation and we talked. And then my husband said, okay, let's send him to school. And I'm like, okay. And we're sitting there, we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And he's like, I don't know, but you always come up with something good. I'm like, okay. That one student, I talked to that student and she said, okay, this is how much it's going to cost for him to go to school. And this is what he needs for lodging.
So he's going to go to school in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not one you're bringing here.
No, this is not what I'm bringing here.
I just wanted to make, that's what I thought I heard. I wanted to clarify.
So this is the one in Africa. Okay. So we put it together and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, God, you know, he need our help. So How is it going to work out? And my husband said, all right, let me know. I said, okay. I said, someone's going to send me a check or bring me a check. Something's going to happen. 2 hours later, my sister Tina called me. She said, sis, where are you? I said, I'm at the house. At the time, she always said, which house are you? I said, I'm over at the garden. And she said, okay, I'm coming. Don't move. I said, okay. She came over, and the same amount of money that I needed, she brought it to me in a check. And she said, I want you to take this check. I want you to go buy something fancy. I don't want you to go spend it on anybody. And I'm like, okay. And she took it. I took it from her and I started smiling. She said, uh-oh. I said, what?
So much for something fancy.
She said, what? I said, I have a student that needs this. And that's what I'm going to do with it. And she rolls her eyes in her head and she said, oh my God, here we go. She's trying to save the world. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just trying to save this one child, just one. And if start with me, just one. And she started crying. My husband started crying. And I'm like, okay, put the money in the bank, call up, did the transaction. He graduated from the first part of the school as one of the #1 student in the university that he was in.
Bravo.
And it's just me and my husband and my sister. We made a decision and we just start with one child.
Start with one child.
That's it. Just start with one. And that one child, you see, you plant seeds, not just in the ground, but into people. That seed that we just planted in him.
We plant, grow. I want to repeat, I don't want any of our listeners to miss that. We plant seeds, not just into the ground, but we plant seeds in people.
Yes. That's my husband. My husband is a seed planter. So he plants seeds in the ground. And we take the seeds that we plant it into people. And those people grow, manifest, and earn their living so they can do the same thing to others.
Absolutely brilliant. Have you met this?
Yes, yes. So the first time I went by myself.
To Congo.
To Congo. Mm-hmm. And it was an amazing adventure. So my student traveled and I traveled with her. I arrived in Congo, beautiful place. On my way to the hotel, they dropped me off at the hotel and said, okay, get washed up and then we'll pick you up and then we'll take you to where the children are. And I was so excited because I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to go meet the children and everything. And they're like, no, wash up. And so at the time when I arrived there, they had an election going on in the country. And as soon as I got there, they shut the country down.
Oh, no.
They shut down the internet. They shut down all the phone lines. Everything was shut down. I did not know one man had that amount of power.
Yeah.
Until I got there.
Yeah.
So when they came and picked me up and we arrived, so I pull up into the village and I heard the music, but I thought it was, okay, they having some celebration because it's the president, you know, they're voting for the president. And I was excited and woo, I turned the corner. I saw a bunch of kids lined off and they were singing. And they turned around and all those little people had my face on their shirt.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness. I started crying and shaking and scared and happy and excited at the same time because I was like, no, why? And they said, this is how they show love, by singing. The voices of those children penetrate my heart. And my brain went into this warp mode that I've never experienced in my life. It was amazing. It was fabulous. It was energetic. And then the band came around the corner and they were playing. I was like, Leslie, I thought it was for the president. When I realized, and the kids came to me
it
and
was
said,
for the president of their hearts.
I know. I started crying. One of the kids come up to me and he said, "Welcome to Congo, Miss Camille." I was like, and they speak English. I was like, they practiced that so they could speak to me. I was like, oh my God, I was in tears.
Oh,
I was
am
in tears. And I met Chris and he said, "Is it okay for me to hug you?" Because at that time, the virus had just broke out. And he asked me, "Is it okay for me to hug you?" And I'm like, "Yes, hug me." And he hugged me and he picked me up off the ground. And I mean, the whole entire time I was there, he was like a bodyguard for me. No one could come near me, no arm could come to me. I mean, anything I wanted, they gave it. It was such a, it was an amazing moment. I mean, to this day, every time I talk about it, my heart start racing.
I bet. How
It
many,
was a-
since that time, how many other children from Congo have you found sponsorships for?
Well, now I have my list. My last list that I had was 14 students on my list. The last one, the last count that I have.
Last time you counted? I love that.
Yeah.
It could be
So
35, but the last time you
yeah.
counted, it was 14.
You know what? It doesn't matter how many of them. It's just the blessing that
It doesn't
I'm allowed
matter
to
how
do
many
that.
of us,
You
but
know?
it's valuable for all of us who aren't doing what you're doing to understand how you can just start with one child and now you can get to the point that, well, last time I counted it was 14, but who knows how many it is.
Yeah. There's
That
way
can
more.
happen.
There's more. They sent me a picture last night, and there was more than 14 of them in the room. Because my husband and I just send off Christmas present to them, and they just received it. So it's like we partnered up with Syntec. There's a company that have been sponsoring our children for the past 5 years, and they help with the list, the name list, and they go out and they go shopping for the kids, and we send them the gift. And it was amazing to see the pictures and the tears, and
That's beautiful.
it's just beautiful,
That is
it's
beautiful.
I
Yes,
love it.
I would
I
have
love
not had a
it.
clue. I never would have realized that. Wouldn't have noticed. Would not
Love
have
it.
noticed.
You don't know.
What is your next big outreach or step that you can already feel growing in your heart, growing in your cells?
So I have a young lady. She's 9 years old. She's in Sri Lanka. Beautiful soul. And that's going to be my next trip. I am going to go to Sri Lanka, visit her, and I'm going to set it up. I'm putting it out in the universe. So hear me well. She wants to come and visit the United States, and I'm going to make sure that happens. And then she's going to introduce
tell you
me.
right here and now on the air, I can't retract it, but you call me and let me see how I can contribute and help you.
Oh. Thank you.
I can't say I'll do the whole sponsorship, but I can contribute. And if
every little
point, is if everybody just contributes a little bit.
That's it. You are so right. I call her little me. She is perfect. When I first met her, she wouldn't speak. She would hold her head down like that, and she'd look to the side. Now, she hold her head up. And she said, "We're having a problem at school." I said, "No, not you." She said, "Not me, but my teacher is. Because we're studying the English, but it's so boring." This is how she talks. But I told her that she called me Auntie Camille. I told her about Auntie Camille. And Auntie Camille is American English. And their English is sassy. when she said that, I was like, uh-oh, what have we done?
Whoops. Well,
Whoops.
when you go to Sri Lanka, you'll have to drop by the school and say hello to the teacher.
Oh, I am. I'm going to go to the school. I'm going to meet the teachers. I'm going to meet the students. Them, because, I love doing that. When I went to Peru, I did the same thing. I met, oh my God, the most amazing, intelligent children you can think of. So much respect.
Mm-hmm.
They value everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They value everything.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Brazil, it was the same thing. They are so in love with learning English.
Mm-hmm.
They're so in love with anybody that speak English. It's amazing.
Mm.
When we went to Japan, Japan was a bit more laid back because they still try to keep themselves into it, but their program is perfect. Everything is organized and lined up. And here I come with my wild self.
Oh, I have Japanese friends who still go and spend months a year in Japan. I bet you are just a shock to their system. And may
Oh,
I
yeah.
say one that was probably good for them.
my husband, we went on the train. So let me give you a little story. We went on the
Please
train,
do.
right?
And I'm glad you brought him up. I was wondering, does he ever get to go on these adventures?
Yes, he does. He went with me to Brazil. He went with me to Japan. He went with me to Congo. So we went to Japan, and we went on the train. And I'm like, everything is so clean and
So
spotless
clean and nice. I
and
know.
so quiet. And I'm
Mhm.
on the train, and I'm like, God, this is so nice. This is so. And I'm like talking, and I'm laughing. And I was showing my daughter around, and my husband said, "Do you notice you're the only one that's talking on the train?" I'm like, and what? And I was laughing and laughing. And he said, "Stop it, because everybody's going to be looking at you." I said, "That's not the first time. That's not the first time." So when the train stopped, there was this elderly gentleman in front of us. He said, "Your voice is like laughter to my ears." Tell him again. Tell it to my husband. Tell it to my husband. And he said, "Thank you for the laughter." And his wife went like this. I said, "You're welcome." And I mean, to me, that was a gift he gave
That's
me.
it.
And
Yeah.
everywhere I go, hello. Everybody was like, okay, she is not from here. Looking at me cross-eyed.
What was your first clue?
But I had a fabulous time in Japan.
Wonderful.
I loved it. It's a different environment for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to visit. The next time I want to visit, I want to go to the schools in the country, in the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go and meet the children in the countryside. I don't want to do the city life. I want to go into the country where I can have the real experience.
Yes, people are not limited to the very rigid structure of the urban area. I do not want to forget. There are two things I don't want to forget. So let's dive right in. First of all, I'll ask the short one because that way I'll still remember the long one. It's just the truth. That's all there is to it.
That's okay.
Where did fabulous come from? Other than the obvious, but where did fabulous come from?
My grandmother.
Of course, I just knew that. I just wanted to see if I was right because I like to be right.
Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. So my grandmother gave me that name. I remember when I was 2 years old. I remember that. But she said she gave me that name when I was born. She said, when you were born, I took one look at you and I said, this is going to be a fabulous child. When this child smiled, the world would light up.
Well, she just laid that blessing right all over you the day you were born.
Ever since I could remember, it's been like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I didn't want to go to church because, oh my God, as a kid, you go to church in Jamaica 7 days a week and twice on Sundays.
Are you kidding?
Ah, you have Sunday
Just
school.
pack a
you
bag
have,
and put up a cot.
that's what and I was very rebellious. I'm telling you. So one morning I got up and my face was all made up. And my grandmother, do not yell. That day, she said, you go back inside. And I was like, I thought I did something wrong. She said, go back inside. And I went back inside and she went in behind me. She said, you see that smile on your face? It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the world. And don't you ever let me see you walk out of this door again without your smile on your face. And I was like, okay. And now, as I get older, I realize what she was talking about. No matter how you feel, no matter what pain you're going through, there's somebody out there that's going through worse than you are. And if you put a smile on your face, that will make a difference in somebody else's.
That's right.
So a lot of people don't understand why I smile. So now you understand why I'm always smiling. Because I'm not smiling just for me. I'm not smiling just for my grandmother. I'm smiling for the world. Because I never know who that smile is going to affect. So that's why I smile.
That is beautiful. Absolutely exquisitely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's not forget about your book.
My book.
Women Gone Wild.
Wow. A lot of people, I remember the first time this book was introduced to me by David Fagan, and he said, okay, there's 21 women in this book that want you to be a part of this group. And I'm like, Woman Gone Wild? I'm not that type of person, David. And he started laughing. He said, no.
I hate to break it to you, my dear, but you are the queen of the wild women. Surely you have realized that by now.
I'm realizing now. He said, you will be number 22 of a woman that did not sit down and wait for anyone to do anything. You are one of the 22 that go above and beyond and make a difference. And I was like, okay, now you put it that way. Okay. It was amazing, the journey that I went through with these other 21 women in it and learn from them. The power that women have in them is amazing. But a lot of us are afraid to shine.
That's right.
And this book itself have a light for every woman, man, boy, girl, grandma. It's for everyone. Once you start reading it, it comes alive and you feel yourself within the book.
You know, that makes sense. With 22 authors, you're going to have 22 different perspectives, which means you're going to reach a broader base of audience because not one of us connects with everybody. What did it give to you personally, inside, deep inside?
So for me personally, it opened up something that I've always hit. Education is something that a lot of us take advantage of because in America, people say it's free. In some country, you're not allowed, you know? And I wanted to put it out there so people could understand what you have when it comes to education, cherish it. And if you could teach the next person what you have learned, you're passing on education to someone else.
That's right.
Now, with my book, with the 21 women in it, the book that you're going to buy from, especially me, you're not just buying a book. You buy an education for a child. Because every book that comes from me will provide food, clothes, shelter, and education for a child.
Well, then I'll buy mine from you.
Thank you.
Well, for me, it's such a small thing. How could I even consider it as a question. And that's the privilege of being who a lot of us are in this world.
Yeah.
Not being in countries where education is a privilege, or where even being able to speak as a woman is a privilege.
Yes. And as we as women reach out to other women and teach them, they're growing. I have my
You're singing
assistant.
my song right there, sister. You are singing my song, women reaching out to women.
You see, but a lot of us don't understand. The more you give, the more you receive.
That's right.
And when you give, don't give with the expecting of receiving. Give because you can and because you want to.
Yes.
I met a young lady going on 2 years now, and she's now my personal assistant. When I met her, she was very timid and she beautiful skill. She's from Sri Lanka, and she taught me something. She said, when I first met her, it was on a negative. It was on a negative how I met her. And I tell her, I said, whatever that was negative in your life, we're going to take it, write it down. We're going to put a match to it, and we're going to burn it. We're going to start out fresh.
Oh, that's a beautiful ritual.
Oh, and we did.
Good.
And I said to her, I said, from now on, when you deal with me, you will deal with me and others that have respect for you, no matter what country you are in, no matter what skill you are. As long as you're a human being, we will respect you as a human being. To this day, she's not only my personal assistant, but she's a very close friend of mine. She's the one that made me show up and look so fabulous in my social media. She is genius.
Oh,
she is amazing.
Thank all the universe for those people, I'll tell you.
Oh, I'm so blessed to have her. Nim is an amazing individual.
That's wonderful. Okay, we could just go on and talk and talk and talk. I can tell that we're just too much of a like mind, but we won't say all good things come to an end, but there are pauses in between the next.
I love it. There are pauses in between.
There are pauses in between.
I like it. I like it.
For all of you out there who have been listening and saying, I want to know more about this woman. This is an amazing thing, what she is doing. I'm going to do what I always do for you, because I love doing it for you. And that is that I am going to have Camille's website, her social media links, her link to her book, her direct contact information. I'm going to have all that in the program notes. So if you're on Spotify or iTunes and you're at the gym, just keep on working out. Don't worry about it. Later on, when you're free and have a pen, you can write it all down. And then you'll be able to get in touch with Camille and find out how you might contribute just a little piece. Or maybe it's just that you already got so much from this conversation that you are feeling a little bit more inspired, a little bit more free to follow that passion that you've been kind of trying to ignore, turning your head away from. Maybe now a spark has been lit just a little bit. Whatever the case, we are so glad you came and tuned in with us, aren't we, Camille?
Yes, we are.
Yes, and I am so thrilled and delighted to have been introduced to you and to have this time to get to know you. And I can tell this is just our beginning.
Oh, yes.
Just
yes,
our beginning. So when you go to the program notes to rewatch the video, to get in touch with Camille, hit subscribe, click like. We appreciate all of your input. So be sure and participate. And as you go through the rest of your day, I'd just like to remind you, you are stronger and wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.